Post 1. Am I the jerk for pushing my wellness business on family? I am a female in my early 30s and I run a small wellness business that has grown faster than people want to admit. I was sick a few years back with gut issues that doctors could not solve. I lost hair, I lost sleep, and I lost patience with pills that only masked symptoms. Then I found Coach Mira's community. It is a collective of women who prioritize alignment, clean protocols, and earning freedom by helping others. I did the detox, my labs improved, and I felt clear for the first time in years. It is not snake oil, it is lifestyle and discipline. Like any business, you invest at the start. I put my savings into founder kits because that tier unlocks impact. It also gives me the margin to offer friends and family my consultant discount. I am very transparent about that. I do charge a small consulting fee because people do not value what they do not pay for. Money is energy. If you are not willing to invest, you are not willing to heal. My family has a long history of ignoring their bodies. My Aunt Rosa is always tired. My cousin Danny has skin flare ups. My mother Elaine wakes up inflamed from bread and then insists it is just aging. The only one who acts like an authority is my brother, Mark, who thinks being able to Google makes him a scientist. His wife, Jenna, is the type who shows up with a store cake and calls it homemade because she sliced the edges off. They roll their eyes at everything I do while texting me for advice when their kids have colds. The hypocrisy would be funny if it were not so expensive for me. I started simple. I offered sample packs at cost and a free group Zoom to introduce the 21-day protocol. Aunt Rosa was excited because she saw my before and after. Danny said she wanted whatever Aunt Rosa was having. My parents were cautious, which I respected at first. My dad, Phil, is conservative with money and thinks anything with a website is a scam. I kept him out of it because negativity lowers results. Meanwhile, the neighbors were already DMing me for links. The community wanted this. When enough people ask for something, you remove friction. I made a family pre-order spreadsheet in Google Sheets. Names on the left, bundle tiers in the middle, auto ship toggle on the right. I added everyone who had either tested a sample, mentioned interest, or said they were low on energy at Sunday dinner. I put Aunt Rosa at Tier 2 detox with the greens add-on Danny at Tier 1. My mother at Tier 1 plus digestive enzymes because bread. I even put Jenna at the basic sleep kit because she complains every Christmas that she never sleeps through the night. I set auto ship for a 3-month runway because consistency matters. This is not a one and done. I put a note at the top that said, opt out by Friday if this timing does not serve you. It is not my fault people do not read. The blow-up happened at Sunday dinner. I brought the spreadsheet printed, highlighted for convenience. I even made a little goodie basket with sachets and a QR code. I presented the plan. It was upbeat and very reasonable. Pay the invoice when it arrives, try the protocol for 60 days, and watch your life change. Instead of listening, Jenna snatched the paper and acted like I had emptied her bank account. She said I had no right to enroll people in auto ship. She said she never agreed to anything. She said the word scam, which is defamatory. Coach Mira says people who use that word have unresolved scarcity. Mark chimed in with a speech about predatory models and money flowing up. He read an article. Good for him. I do not run my business on fear-based blogs. I stayed calm. I said the spreadsheet is a courtesy and auto ship is convenience. Like Amazon, but for wellness. I said you can click opt out at any time. I said the protocol only works if you commit. Mark called me a seller of powdered placebos. Jenna called me a bully. My mother said she does not like conflict and asked if we could just eat. My dad muttered something about me turning family time into a sales floor, which was unfair. It was education with purchase options. On Tuesday, I get notifications. A batch of invoices paid instantly. Aunt Rosa, obviously. Danny, bless her. A few cousins. My mother's pending. Mark's declined with a note about unauthorized charge, even though it was not charged. He had called the bank and preemptively blocked me like I was a hacker. Jenna sent a group text declaring that she had canceled the fraudulent family order. She called my business a grift and told everyone to send me no money. I reminded her that kits were already set aside and that cancellations after inventory allocation incur a restocking fee. She sent a thumbs down, the immaturity. I shipped what was paid. That is called fulfillment. For those who had not paid, I extended a grace period and then, as policy, applied a 10% consulting fee for the time I had already invested. Do you think meal plans write themselves? Do you think office hours on Zoom are free? Even my time answering texts like, "Can I mix this with coffee?" is labor Mark went nuclear and filed a chargeback on an invoice he claims he did not authorize. The bank will sort it. I will send screenshots. I have receipts. Now I am getting piled on in the family chat. The half that cares about health, the ones who paid, are thrilled. Aunt Rosa posted her before and after and said she slept through the night for the first time in weeks. Danny says her skin is calmer. Meanwhile, Mark's side says I ambushed them. Jenna says I embarrassed her at dinner by handing out QR codes. My dad is taking Mark's side because he hates anything that is not in a brick building with fluorescent lights. My mother is bouncing between wanting peace and wanting to feel better without pills. Coach Mira told me this is the exact moment you find out who wants wellness and who wants excuses. I will not apologize for taking leadership. People always say they want to be healthier and spend less on doctors. Then they clutch their pearls when someone gives them a structure. Money is not poison, it is a commitment. I put real money into inventory so that my family could access my discount and get results. The least they can do is honor the process or respectfully opt out without smearing my name. So tell me, am I the jerk for organizing a family pre-order spreadsheet with auto-ship toggled by default? Sending invoices with a modest consulting fee and expecting payment for product I sourced and plans I created when my brother and his wife refused to invest in themselves and called me a scammer in front of everyone? I feel like I am being punished for trying to help. Comment 1. You are the jerk. Preloading a spreadsheet with people's names and autoship is coercive. Invoices plus a consulting fee for plans they did not request is predatory. Stop charging relatives for unsolicited product. Comment 2. If Western meds failed you, it makes sense to try alternatives. Family should support you. They could have opted out. Update 1. A lot of people seemed confused about specifics, so let me make this simple and clear. I run a wellness business. Businesses have inventory, invoices, policies, and fees for time. I am not a hobbyist baking cupcakes in a church basement for fun. I invested actual savings into founder kits because that is the tier that unlocks margin and allows me to pass a discount to my circle. When you message me at 11:42 p.m. to ask whether you can mix greens with oat milk, that is consulting. When I build a 21-day plan with substitutes for picky eaters, that is consulting. When I assemble sample bundles, print labels, and drive them over because someone forgot, that is consulting. Money is energy, and my energy is not free. Timeline since Sunday dinner. Monday morning, I pushed invoices through the cart like any normal launch. Aunt Rosa paid in 2 minutes with a string of heart emojis and a caption about being so ready. Danny paid and asked about college and add-ons. 2 cousins paid. My mother's invoice showed opened, but not paid. Mark's showed blocked by bank. Jenna did not even open hers, which is childish, since she was on the sheet for the basic sleep kit that she complains about every winter. I gave a 24-hour grace period. On Tuesday afternoon, I marked unpaid invoices as overdue and applied a modest 10% consulting surcharge for time already expended. That is listed in my policy and it is industry standard. If you think industry standard feels formal, that is because I run a business like a business. Mark's response was to call his bank and file a chargeback on an invoice that had not even settled. He then sent a group text accusing me of attempted fraud. I replied with a screenshot of the policy and a link to the opt-out note at the top of the family sheet. He wrote, "No one opted in," which is a cute reversal considering I literally stood in the dining room explaining the timeline and QR codes. Jenna chimed in that she reported me to the card processor for deceptive practices. I sent her a smiling face and told her to read the cancellation terms. She replied with a thumbs down. That is the maturity level I am dealing with. Meanwhile, the paying customers were thrilled. Aunt Rosa posted a selfie in the family chat with the caption, "First night sleeping past 3 a.m." She also wrote a long comment about feeling lighter already and tagged me with Coach of the Year. Danny texted me privately that her skin had calmed and asked about adding liver support in week 2. That is what results look like when people say yes instead of fighting the person trying to help them. I delivered the paid kits on Wednesday. For the unpaid but allocated inventory, I followed policy and shipped the basic bundles so consistency could start. You cannot get momentum without something in hand. I included a note that payment was due upon receipt and the consulting surcharge would be waived if paid within 48 hours. That is called being generous. Jenna put her kit back on my porch like it contained poison. My mother called to say she felt pressured and that dad was upset about the auto thing. I told her auto ship is convenience and that she could simply uncheck the toggle after the first 2 months if she wanted. She said dad did not like being enrolled in anything without consent. I said he was not enrolled. She said he would talk to Mark. I said maybe talk to me, the person who cares about your inflammation. Then came the part that made me furious. My payment processor notified me of 3 disputes, all filed the same hour. Mark disputed unauthorized invoice. Jenna disputed goods not requested. And one cousin disputed not as described, even though she had not opened the box. Disputes cost me fees. Fees drain margin. Margin pays for time. In effect, they stole from a small business owner and then bragged about it in the chat like they had saved the village from a dragon. So I did 2 things. First, I sent formal past due notices with a line item for consulting hours already delivered. I itemized intake call, plan build, group Zoom, Q&A tech support. I gave a date to pay to avoid sending to collections. Second, I drafted a short cease and desist to Jenna and Mark regarding defamatory statements about fraud and grift. I sent it by email with red receipt and by certified mail because grown-ups use paper. I am not suing my own family today. I am reminding them that calling a legitimate business a scam because you do not want to invest is not free speech. It is defamation that damages me financially. The pile-on worsened. Mark posted a link to some anti-MLM blog with long words about downlines and inventory loading. He tagged me on Facebook with a line about, "Don't buy from people who invoice their family without consent." He is a salaried employee who has never had to float a single box or chase a single net 30. He does not understand how launches work. Jenna messaged the church group to be careful because I pressured elders. I have never taken a card from anyone over 70 without a family member present. That is my rule. I am ethical. The fact that they are trying to get ahead of my narrative by smearing me to the ladies who bring casseroles is disgusting. My dad called to say I should let it go and eat the loss for the sake of peace. I said peace does not pay restock fees and shipping. He said he would reimburse me for the boxes if I would promise to stop. I said he cannot buy my silence. He sighed and said, "You have changed." I said, "Yes, I am running something that matters." He hung up. My mother sent a text with 3 hearts and "I love both my kids." That false balance makes me want to scream. One kid is building health. The other is building a smear campaign. Coach Mira told me in our team call that this is textbook resistance. She said to hold firm on boundaries and not to collapse pricing under pressure. She also suggested a small late fee to create urgency. I added 5% after 72 hours and updated the invoice terms accordingly. Within an hour, 2 cousins paid proof that structure works. Jenna screenshotted the updated terms and tried to call it price gouging. It is not. It is standard late fee language. Again, she has no idea how business operates. I know the contrarians here will say I crossed a line with the default auto ship in the spreadsheet, but if you actually read what I wrote, there was an opt-out and a grace period. This is not trickery, it is leadership. A launch needs momentum, or people fall back into the same habits and then blame you for their lack of results. I am not carrying their excuses. So, updated question. Am I wrong to require payment for product and plans already delivered? To apply a consulting surcharge for time? To send formal past due notices? And to warn my brother and his wife to stop defaming my business when they are the ones filing chargebacks and calling me a scammer? Or is this exactly what any serious business owner would do when family tries to make peace the price of their labor? Comment 1. You are the jerk. Sending unsolicited product, invoicing without consent, and then adding consulting and late fees is predatory. Chargebacks are the appropriate response. Stop weaponizing family ties for sales. Comment 2. You cannot call it leadership to auto-enroll people. Opt-in means opt-in. Your dad offering to reimburse you was grace. You turned it into leverage. Update 2. Everyone keeps acting like I ambushed the family with invoices because I am greedy, when the truth is I am the only one bringing solutions that cost less than a specialist copay. If money is central, it is because health is central and money follows health. People either invest in prevention or they pay triple later. That is not greed. That is arithmetic. After the chargeback drama, the family group split clean down the middle. Rosa and Danny are thrilled, sleeping better, texting me photos of clear skin and empty coffee cups after lunch because they do not need caffeine anymore. The other side is Mark, who has elevated my name to a hobby. He sent a 1,500-word email with links to blogs that quote other blogs. He bolded a line about inventory loading, which shows me he has zero grasp of founder tiers, rank math, or the simple idea that you need product on hand to serve a community. Jenna chimed in to say she would be reporting me to the church pastor if I kept soliciting at potlucks I've given out no more than 2 sachets in that building. And one went to a woman who asked for it, but fine. The pastor actually called me. He was gentle and said he admired my passion, but asked me to stop pitching during fellowship hour. He said too many people felt cornered by QR codes. I told him I do not corner anyone. I educate. He repeated the request, and I said I would honor it because I respect him. Not because I agree that health education is a pitch. I should add that several women approached me privately later and thanked me for telling the truth about seed oils. So, if the church wants quiet, fine, quiet does not mean I stop helping. Since the potluck is off limits, I organized what any responsible coach would do. Wellness weekend. I made a flyer with pastel circles and a friendly font, booked my parents' living room for Saturday and Sunday, and set up a registration link. Before anyone gets performative, yes, I told my mother, and she said, "We will see," which is the soft yes she uses when she is overwhelmed. But Open Dad does not get a vote on wellness in a house where he will not even try giving up bread for 1 week. I brought my folding table, samples, a portable ring light, and my card reader. Because follow-through matters, I also printed 2 stackable signs. Scan here to check in and 5 spots left at consultant pricing. That is called psychology. People finally act when the moment has a container. The morning session was perfect. Rosa brought muffins made with almond flour, which is on brand. Danny demoed a skin routine on camera and looked radiant. 2 neighbors walked in because they saw my stories and wanted to learn about the 21-day. One of Mom's friends asked a sincere question about her medication and the greens, and I said exactly what Coach Mira trained us to say: I do not give medical advice. I share my experience and the official product guide. She bought the guide and the starter greens. Then Dad came home early. He walked in, saw the ring light, and went red in the face. That particular shade he saves for taxes and me. He said, "Turn that off." I said, "We are mid-session." He said, "Get the card reader off my table." I said, "It is my table." He said, "Then take it to your apartment." Mom tried to shush him and said my friends were here. He told my friends to leave. It was humiliating. The women looked at each other, and Rosa grabbed my hand and said, "We can resume at my place." Dad said, "Please do." I said, "This is controlling." He said, "This is my home." Money is control to him, and he will not admit that. He thinks because he paid for the house 30 years ago, he gets to block his own wife from a weekend of healing. He does not see all the ways my work cuts future costs and builds resilience, so she does not call him crying from a waiting room. We moved to Rosa's living room within an hour and finished the session. I sold 3 starter bundles, 1 sleep kit, and booked 2 consults. This is what I mean when I say momentum. Women want help. Men interrupt because they fear budgets. I did a second session Sunday, and it was even better. Danny fielded questions in the chat while I ran cards and walked people through the plan. My mother texted me mid-session, "Dad is upset. We need to talk." I said, "We will talk when he respects my work." Mark made a scene about it in the family chat. He screenshotted my flyer, circled the address, and wrote, "Hosting a sales event in someone else's home without consent is wild." I replied, "Mom knew." He replied, "Dad did not." I wrote, "Mom is the one who is inflamed." Jenna added, "Setting up a card reader on your parents' coffee table is not normal." I wrote, "Setting up a card reader anywhere there is interest is normal." She wrote, "You are proving the pastor right." For someone who brags about supporting women-owned businesses, she has a strange list of exceptions. A few people here asked whether I am aware I am losing family over money. I am not losing family over money. I am exposing who thinks health is free and who is willing to invest. The pastor can limit QR codes on church property. My dad can stomp around and call it integrity. None of that changes the fact that my people are getting results. Rosa slept. Danny glowed. A neighbor texted me that she felt energy after day 2. If the loud half of my relatives would stop reading blogs about scams and start reading labels, we would not be in this drama. Since everyone is obsessed with policies, here are mine. I do not take cards from anyone over 70 without an adult family member present. I do not process returns after day 30 because bodies need time. I do not discount beyond consultant pricing because price integrity protects results. I do charge a consulting fee after intake because my time is the thing that changes outcomes. Mark says that is predatory. It is not. It is compensation. The predatory thing is cornering me at holidays to ask what to eat while mocking my business in group chats. The escalation from their side now is to label me abusive with money. That word again. Jenna told the church group that I pressure women at home. She used the word isolate. I have never isolated anyone. I bring people together. If I sometimes bring a card reader into a living room that needed light, it is because action follows clarity. The only people isolating anyone are the ones telling my mother she cannot attend her own daughter's event. I know you will call this doubling down, fine, but I will not apologize for a wellness weekend that delivered value. If my parents want me to stop using their house, that is their choice. I will use Rosa's and Danny's. The next event will have a bigger ring light and a better playlist. Momentum does not stop because one man snarled at a card reader. Comment 1. You are still the jerk. Running a sales event in your parents' home without clear consent and then setting up a card reader on their table is manipulative. The pastor asked for boundaries. You ignored them. Stop monetizing family spaces. Comment 2. Your dad shutting it down was control. Women sharing health info in a home is not a crime. Keep hosting with relatives who want you there. Update 3. Everyone keeps saying I went public like I stood on a table and screamed. No, I posted educational content because I have an obligation to counter disinformation with truth. That it performed well is not my fault. I am good on camera and my message resonates in a sick culture. If my family feels targeted, maybe they recognize themselves in the behaviors I described. Here's what happened. After the wellness weekend, my inbox filled with DMs from women begging for scripts to push back on husbands who mock supplements while spending triple on golf. The pastor banned QR codes, my dad threw out my ring light like a tyrant, and Mark would not stop spamming blog links. I made a reel to meet the moment title card, 5 everyday chemical traps that are hurting your child's sleep. Clips, nonstick pans, laundry sheets, neon cereals, school sanitizers, blue light iPads. I wrote on-screen text that said, "This looks familiar," over a shot of an open pantry. A pantry is a pantry. If some people think it looks like theirs, maybe that is the point. I did not say Mark or Jenna's names. I did not show their faces. I filmed in my apartment using my props. I even used a trending sound about moms who are trying their best. The call to action at the end was a free download of my clean swap checklist and a code for 10% off starter kits, if claimed within 24 hours. This is extremely normal content. My upline coach Mira reshared it with, "Proud of this truth bomb queen," and the views jumped, sales ticked up. That is how educational content funds itself. Then people decided to be dramatic. One of Jenna's friends commented, "Why are you subtweeting our family?" which I deleted because my page is not a playground. My downline, being supportive as teams are, responded with their own stories. A few tagged Jenna's employer in the replies like, "FYI, your staff spreads chemical myths." Because Jenna had been leaving snide comments about pseudoscience under my pantry clip, I did not tell anyone to tag her work. I have never told anyone to tag anyone's work. People defend me. I cannot police the entire internet. Jenna emailed me a cease harassment message written in lawyer font accusing me of inciting a targeted campaign. She is not a lawyer. She works at a school. She copied the principal, which was rude because I have never contacted her employer. She also wrote, "Take down the reel." I replied with a link to the First Amendment and a smiley face. Then I sent a second email, polite and clear, stating that my content is general education, that any resemblance is coincidental, and that I would appreciate her not interfering with my business. I CC'd my mom so there would be an adult in the room. Mark did his Mark thing in the family chat, screenshotted my reel, circled the pantry, and wrote, "She filmed this in our house last winter." I did a video at Christmas, yes, when Jenna asked me how to store oats. That pantry looks like thousands of pantries. He wrote paragraphs about doxing. I wrote, stop using new words you found on a blog. He said, you tagged our neighborhood? I geotag places to reach local moms. That is marketing 101. He wants to police my outreach because he cannot stand that I am building something. The pastor called again. He said several parishioners were upset that my downline had tagged Jenna's work. I told him that my team is passionate and that we cannot stop people from advocating for truth. He said, but you can ask them not to. Fine. I posted a story. Please do not tag workplaces in debates. Let us keep it educational. I even added a heart that did not stop the narrative because some people prefer fire to facts. Then the public scene people keep referencing. Jenna's school hosted a community wellness night with tables for flu shots, dental checkups, a yoga studio, and a smoothie place. A follower DM'd the flyer and said, you should be there. I printed 20 copies of my clean swap checklist, put on a blazer, and went with Aunt Rosa to attend as parents like everyone else. We stood near the smoothie bar, answered questions when people recognized me from the reel, and handed out the sheet. The yoga lady asked for a copy for her clients. A mom bought a starter greens kit on her phone using my code while we chatted about lunchboxes. It was breezy and kind. Then Jenna walked in, saw me, flushed red, and demanded I leave. She said I was poaching and undermining their event. I said, this is a public night. She said, staff asked you to go. A vice principal approached and very gently said that outside vendors need school approval and asked that I not distribute materials. I said, I am not vending, I am educating. And stepped 2 feet to the left so I was by the hallway instead of a table. Jenna tried to snatch my stack. Aunt Rosa put her hand on the papers and said, no. People stared. I smiled and said to the VP, of course, happy to leave the stack with you. He took one, said thank you, and I walked to the lobby to chat with 2 moms who had followed me out. If that is a scene, then blinking is a performance. Backlash arrived within hours because Mark lives online. He cut my reel with freeze frames of the Christmas pantry and posted a thread calling me dangerous. He tagged anti-MLM accounts. They piled on with buzzwords like inventory loading and front loading, which are not sins. They are how you serve promptly. My sales doubled that day because hate follows fuel curiosity. I wish my family could grasp cause and effect. My father texted, return the money we sent for your mother's vitamins last month and apologize to the school. That is what he cares about. Who paid for what? He does not ask if mom slept better. He asks who bought the bottle. I told him I would send mom a new kit free, but I would not apologize for educating. He wrote, do not come over Saturday. Honestly, that helps me. I need Saturdays for clients who want change, not men who count pennies while eating white bread. My mother sent me a long voice memo about how people are talking and she is stuck in the middle. I said she is not stuck. She is invited to pick what helps her body. She whispered that dad is furious about money conversations, which is code for Mark feeding him those blog posts. I told her to try the enzymes and stop letting fear run the show. She said maybe. That is the closest she gets to yes. For everyone clutching pearls over naming names, I did not. My downline should not have tagged Jenna's employer, and I told them so. But I will not let a school dictate whether I can hand a grocery list to a mom in a hallway. That is not harassment. That is care. The ones yelling harassment are the same people who mock women for falling for wellness. Like we cannot read I run numbers all day. Prevention is cheaper than hospital copays. Money is central because the system makes it central. The only apology I will consider is from Mark and Jenna for calling my work a scam and trying to scare my clients with blog jargon. I will continue posting educational content that keeps kids asleep and moms out of panic spirals. If that content includes a pantry, maybe clean yours and you will not feel seen. Comment 1, you are absolutely the jerk. You made an educational hit piece, your team dogpiled Jenna's workplace, and you showed up to her school's event to hand out your sales funnel. This is targeted harassment dressed up as care. Comment 2, you say you did not name names, then geotag their neighborhood and filmed their pantry at Christmas. You are monetizing your relatives' lives and calling it education. Stop Darvo and leave the school alone. Update 4. According to my brother, I have one last chance to behave like family. That is the opener of his very dramatic email. Subject line, all caps, ultimatum. He sent it to me, my parents, Jenna, 3 cousins, and the pastor. He loves an audience. The terms read like a list written by someone who has never carried a launch one. Delete the real and every story related to family. 2. Stop using family names, images, or recognizable settings. 3. Refund all charges and consulting fees, including inventory I shipped for. Publicly apologize to Jenna's school. 5. Commit in writing to no more business activities in mom and dad's home. If I do that by Friday at 5, he will call off what he calls Truth Night. Truth Night is not as noble as it sounds. He booked the church hall for Sunday and promised a presentation with receipts. He has screenshots of my spreadsheet, my invoices, my default auto ship, and even the almond flour muffins from Wellness Weekend. He says he will show predatory mechanics and coerced purchases and misleading health claims. He will then give people a resource list so they can avoid being exploited. It is generous in the way someone is generous with your time when they force you to sit through their slideshow. I did not flinch. I sent a short reply. I will not delete educational content. I will not refund paid product. I will not apologize for educating. I will not sign away my right to host a gathering in my parents' home with my mother's consent. I said I would consider a formal boundary about not filming there if that makes Dad less reactive. But I will not pretend I did anything wrong by offering women a lower-cost alternative to specialists. Then I pressed send and made chamomile because the adrenaline was loud. Mom called within 10 minutes. She whispered because Dad was in the next room. She asked if refunds are possible from the company. I said returns within 30 days with packaging intact are evaluated case by case. But they go back to the consultant of record. She said she did not want to be the reason for a fight and wondered if I could just make it go away. I said I could make pain go away with the right enzymes and she should focus on her body, not Mark's show. She sighed and said Dad is printing things. That is his love language. Paper stacks that prove he is not being taken. I told her I would swing by with a sample of the joint support and that I loved her. She said, I know, which is as close to backing me as she can manage. Coach Mira told me in our leadership Zoom to hold price integrity. When families threaten truth nights, you do not cave. You tighten the offer and you remind your community that scarcity speaks loud when results approach. She also said something that clarified everything. They want your refund to erase your leadership. That is exactly it. Truth Night is not about invoices. It is about punishing initiative. Money is central because my initiative has dollars attached to it for the first time, and they do not like it. I posted a calm graphic. Refunds are processed according to policy. Education stays up because facts help moms sleep. See you at the next Wellness Weekend. Rosa reshared with hearts. Danny filmed a 3-minute testimonial about her skin that made me cry a little because she looked bright and proud. Mark commented under her video with a link to a blog about placebo. He wants to turn women's lived experience into a joke. People forget jokes do not clear skin. Protocols do. Dad tried a different route. He called to negotiate. What if you refund just Jenna? He said. What if you apologize just to the school? I said selective apology is manipulation and I will not reward harassment. He said I am turning a family issue into a business dispute. I said it became a business dispute when they filed chargebacks and when a school got tagged. He said I made the first invoice. I said I made the first offer. There is a difference. He hung up without a goodbye. He does that when I do not fold at his preferred speed. Jenna sent me a second cease harassment with bigger font and a new line about commercial exploitation. She gave me a 24-hour deadline to reverse all charges and post a retraction. She is not counsel, but she plays one in her drafts folder. I replied with a very polite note that any further defamatory claims about fraud, grift, or scam would be forwarded to my processor's legal team. I attached a screenshot of the disputes and the portions of the policy she agreed to when she clicked a cart link months ago to buy a sleep kit for a teacher friend. Consent does not become coercion because she regretted a box. Since everyone is obsessed with receipts, I started organizing mine for small claims. Yes, I said it. If they persist in calling my work a con and keep public chargebacks as a hobby, I will file for the lost commissions and fees, not to be cruel. To be correct, you cannot smear a legitimate business and expect the target to keep smiling at potlucks. I drafted my list of damages, dispute fees, returned inventory restock, shipping, consulting hours, lost sales from the school event when Jenna demanded I leave. I did not send it, I filed it. Sometimes knowing you can act is enough to quiet your nervous system. The pastor called again. He said he would prefer no slideshow called Truth Night in the fellowship hall. Mark was forced to change the name to Family Q&A, which is hilarious because even the church wants them to tone it down. Still, they are going ahead. He says there will be no recordings. I would bet my cart fees that someone will still film a piece. I am ready either way. Mom texted a photo of the agenda Dad printed. It has timestamps. Inventory loading at 7:05. Auto ship without consent at 7:20. Health claims at 7:35. There is a Q&A at 7:50 with a star next to Jenna's name. Mom added, I cannot stop them. I replied, you do not have to stop them. You can choose your chair. She sent a heart and then, after a long pause, do the enzymes make your stomach feel warm? If you know, you know. That is a yes. Before anyone lectures me about humility, I offered a compromise to Dad that would have ended this. I told him I would agree to not host events in their living room, to not film in their pantry again, and to put a note on my site that says families should DM me for links instead of being included on any shared sheets. He said that felt like a start if I added refunds. I said no. He said then he would attend Truth Night. I said enjoy the muffins. Emma is not in this. I do not have a partner to run interference or to say enough. I have a business, a nervous system, and a growing roster of clients who sleep. Mark wants to swap all of that for a room where he gets to be the man with the slides. He can have the room. I will keep the clients. If you attend Family Q&A and hear the phrase predatory, ask Mark to show you a single charge where I ran a card without a portal click or a signed intake. Ask him to show an invoice that did not include opt-out language. Ask him to calculate the cost he is asking me to eat so he can feel like a hero. Then ask him who will explain to Aunt Rosa why her coach had to stop hosting the Zoom she looks forward to because a sibling needed a stage. I will not come Sunday. I will spend that time prepping next week's calls and writing the meal swaps for two moms who are removing dyes for the first time. Money is central because it buys time for care. I do not owe my brother a refund on my time so he can perform truth. Comment 1. You continue to be the jerk. An ultimatum asking you to stop exploiting family and refund unsolicited charges is reasonable. Threatening small claims against relatives you auto-enrolled is grotesque. This is not leadership, it is manipulation. Comment 2. Mark's slideshow sounds controlling. You offered boundaries about filming and hosting? That is fair. Do not let people bully you into erasing your work because they do not understand prevention. Update 5. Truth Night got renamed to Family Q&A, which is hilarious because nothing about it was a question. It was Mark with a projector, Jenna with a stack of printouts, and my dad playing Parliament I did not attend because I do not reward theatrics with my presence, but plenty of people sent me photos and audio clips. So here is what they think they exposed, followed by what actually matters. Mark opened with my family pre-order spreadsheet on a big screen like he had unearthed state secrets. He circled the auto ship column in red and said, without consent about 15 times. He showed screenshots of invoices with consulting surcharges and called them junk fees. Then he clicked to a slide labeled inventory loading and pasted passages from anti-MLM blogs like they were peer review. He did not include a single before and after from Rosa or Danny because results do not fit his narrative. Jenna took over and waved my reel around as if educational content is contraband. She played the pantry clip next to a Christmas photo and claimed I had weaponized family spaces for profit. Several people gasped at that part, apparently. A vice principal from her school sat in the back looking bored. If there had really been harassment, he would not have bothered to sit through muffins and slides. He was there to support staff, not to arrest a grocery list. Then Dad stood up and did the dramatic reveal they all keep calling the twist. He said, in the tone of a man announcing a scandal, that he and Mom liquidated part of his retirement last year to help me purchase founder inventory. He called it a bridge loan. He said I promised a 20% monthly return from downline growth. He said he has seen no returns. He held up a letter from his brokerage with numbers. People sucked in air like they had witnessed a crime. Here is what actually happened. I invited my parents to invest in the business side so they could participate in the upside. I said I would aim for 20% based on volume projections. A goal is not a guarantee. Markets move. Launches adjust. And yes, I use the phrase bridge loan because that is what it was. A short-term support while I hit rank. That support let me stock founder packs to serve a community that did not want to wait 2 weeks for shipping. It was not stealing dad's pension. It was partnering with family so that wealth stays close. Could communication have been clearer? Sure. Should dad have expected that returns fluctuate in early scale? Yes. But the point of his performance was not cash flow. It was to turn the room against the idea that women can build in the first place. Because when a daughter moves money, it is called a betrayal. When a son lectures with a projector, it is called integrity. After the reveal, they opened the floor. Someone asked what I had promised exactly. Jenna answered for me, which tells you everything. Someone asked whether mom wanted the investment. Mom said she wanted harmony. Everyone clucked at that, like it was proof I am a villain instead of proof that she has been taught to avoid conflict her whole life. Dad announced that he is freezing access to their home for business activities, and that any further invoices would be reported to banks. He said the words "not welcome." People sent me that clip gleefully. I heard a man who cannot stand that his daughter is not docile anymore. Let me be concrete about consequences since the internet loves those. My payment processor placed a temporary hold after the burst of disputes Jenna and Mark encouraged. It is standard risk control and the hold is already lifting, but yes, it slowed cash flow. My bank asked for updated documentation, which I provided within a day. I received a stern email from Jenna's principal asking me not to distribute materials at their school events. Fine. I will host at places that want me. Rosa rescheduled our next wellness weekend to her friend's studio, and 5 new names registered within an hour, so the work continues. Family fallout. Half my cousins unfriended me. Some posted vague, protect your elders quotes. The church pastor asked both sides to stop using the hall for competing narratives. Mark texted me a victory message that read, "You are done." I replied, "I am booked." Dad sent a formal letter, typed, requesting repayment of the bridge loan within 30 days. I will not repay on his schedule so he can perform power. I will amortize it according to business realities and keep mom in supplements so she sleeps. If that makes me the jerk in a room that counts pennies and calls it virtue, then I guess I am fluent in a different math. People also want to know about Rosa and Danny. They are fine. Rosa is sleeping through the night and does not care about Mark's slides. Danny recorded another skin update and got chased offline by 2 of Jenna's friends who called her gullible. I told Danny to lock her comments and keep nourishing herself. If social media makes you small, you step back and let your body speak louder. For those who say the parental investment is unforgivable, get real. Families fund restaurants, car lots, and landscaping trucks all the time. They only call it betrayal when the daughter's balance sheet has greens powder on it. I will not let a room full of people who think oat milk is radical define the arc of my work. So, no, I will not refund scarcity. I will not erase content to soothe men who feel emasculated by ring lights. I will not apologize to a school because 2 moms picked up a grocery list in a hallway. I will restructure the bridge loan into something that reflects real revenue, not Mark's fantasy of punishment. I will keep charging fairly for my time. I will keep defaulting to auto ship with clear opt-out. And I will keep speaking plainly about chemicals and sleep because children are sleeping again, and that is what matters. You can sit in a hall and clap for slides. I will be in a living room with women who want daylight in their bodies. Comment 1. You are still the jerk. You convinced your parents to liquidate retirement for founder inventory, promised a return, and now sneer at paying it back. That is exploitation, not entrepreneurship. Refund your relatives and stop invoicing unsolicited product. Comment 2. Families invest in businesses. Returns can fluctuate. Mark turning a bridge loan into a spectacle is gross. Stand your ground, repay on a schedule you can meet, and keep serving the people who want your coaching. Final update, 11 months later. It has been almost a year and I keep getting DMs asking, "Are you okay?" That question is loaded. If by okay you mean did I fold and crawl back to a cubicle, then no. If you mean am I still here, building something that matters while everyone who never took a risk keeps booing from the bleachers, then yes, life looks different. Different does not equal failure. Different is what growth looks like when you stop performing comfort for people who count your receipts more than your results. The family fallout hardened into routine. Dad mailed me a demand letter every 30 days for 6 months with the words bridge loan in bold. He CC'd the pastor once, which was petty. I responded with a structured repayment plan tied to sales volume, which is what any responsible founder uses when scaling. He called it stalling. I called it math. When he threatened small claims, I sent the amortization schedule again with the note that I had already repaid more than half in product and cash equivalents. He wrote back that supplements are not currency. Tell that to Mom, who is sleeping without waking at 3 a.m. now. She does not post about it because she is conflict avoidant, not because she is not well. The processor drama resolved, then flared, then settled into a higher fee tier because of Mark's little chargeback campaign. Fees are the price of moving energy in a system that prefers stasis. I adjusted pricing and absorbed some margin loss while rebuilding with clients who understand timelines. That is called leadership. The people who yell scam while eating neon cereal do not know what it takes to keep a calendar full when your own relatives try to shut off your lights. Rosa and Danny remain my anchors. Rosa hosts Wellness Weekend in her friend's yoga studio now, which gives us room for mats and better lighting. Danny runs Skin Q&A on Tuesdays. We do not advertise in the church group anymore because the pastor asked for quiet, which in his mouth means keep your growth invisible so no one has to feel anything. Fine. Other circles exist. Women find us through private shares and real results. The loudest people online never buy a single thing. That has been true since the first launch. Work looks smaller if you only count headcount. If you count outcomes, it looks enormous. I brought on 3 private clients who wanted deep coaching, not just kits. One had migraines vanish after we fixed morning routines. Another cut weekend panic spirals in half by removing dyes from her pantry. I would like Mark to timeline that on a projector. The irony is that his truth night shocked a few fence sitters into my arms. They saw that if someone is willing to put a daughter on a screen to humiliate her, maybe that daughter is telling a truth people fear. Money remains central because money is how this culture measures care. I downsized apartments. Yes. I traded a 2-bedroom for a 1-bedroom with sunlight that makes videos look gentler. I sold a ring light and bought a better microphone. I let go of the storage unit because holding inventory is overrated when the new partner brand fulfills faster. That is a switch some people will call hopping. It is called optimizing. Coach Mira moved to a corporate training role. I thanked her and joined a partner brand that respects compliance without shaming results. The kits are simpler. The returns are cleaner. The plan suits women who cannot spend a mortgage payment to feel less inflamed. I learned. Learning does not equal guilt. It equals evolution. Jenna still writes paragraphs at me from burner email accounts. In one, she said I ruined her year. In another, she said I am dangerous. She keeps using words like coercion when the only coercion in this story was a hall full of people asking my mother to pick a son over sleep. Her school sent me a final note asking that I not vend on campus property. I framed it as a reminder that institutions cling to control. We vend elsewhere now. 2 PTA moms book me privately and bring their friends. The principal cannot police a living room. He probably knows that he can keep his gym. Mark has gone quiet in public, which he thinks reads as dignity. It reads like someone who got bored when the performance stopped paying an attention. He still texts Dad articles. Dad still mails letters. I still send scheduled payments, sometimes in cash, sometimes through a transfer that he pretends to ignore and then deposits. He tells people he is getting what is owed. He never mentions that he has taken supplements every month since January because Mom puts them next to his coffee, and he does not notice. She told me that in a whisper as if she is confessing a sin. I think it is the first time she has rebelled for herself. A few of my cousins unfriended me, then refriended when their kids got rashes. I did not gloat. I sent the dye-free list and told them to start with laundry. People come back slowly when you do not force them. Half the family still thinks I am a cautionary tale. The other half texts quietly when they are done pretending bread is not a trigger. I am available. That is what care looks like after the fanfare. Did I make mistakes? I could have communicated differently. The family pre-order sheet with default auto-ship scared people who fear commitment. I see that now. Next time, I would make the opt-in box bigger and the opt-out deadline even clearer. Not because I scammed anyone, but because brains under stress see what they want to see. I would not host in my parents' living room again because Dad treats furniture like jurisdiction. Fine. We have rooms where light is welcome. There were weeks where I cried on the kitchen floor. I am not a robot. Public pylons feel like the flu. Processor holds feel like a limb asleep. But if the question is, did I give up? The answer is no. I am not giving the people who laughed at my ring light the pleasure of my silence. I will keep filming grocery lists that save mom's money. I will keep saying no to refunds that are not policy. I will keep paying dad in a way that does not burn down my calendar, because repaying without ruin is still repair, even if he cannot recognize it through the steam of his pride. If what you wanted was a confession, you will not get that. I am not sorry for building a structure. I am not sorry that money flows through it. I am not sorry that my work made men uncomfortable and woke up every avoider in a 30-mile radius. I am sorry that my mother was forced to stand in a room and watch a son try to make a daughter small with slides. She deserved a family that celebrates women who choose daylight. Here's what closure looks like on my side. The bridge loan is mapped, the processor fees have stabilized, the calendar is full enough that I sleep without squeezing my jaw. My clients send photos of kids asleep by 9. My pantry is clean. My phone is on Do Not Disturb after 10. When a number with history calls, I let it roll unless it belongs to a woman asking for a list. That is the person I answer. Everyone else can keep counting other people's money. I will keep counting hours slept, rashes faded, and Saturdays reclaimed. Quiet is not surrender, it is focus. Surrender, it is focus. Surrender, it is focus. Surrender, it is focus.